So we want to know a little bit about you, about what what you're doing, about Ladies That Mulch. So tell me about your business. When did you start? Why did you start? And what's your background?
How honest are we? So we'd had a couple of bottles of wine on a ski holiday and decided that, well, perhaps we, after 20 odd years in sort of financial services and compliance, that it was time to do something that we really loved, and so we could have more flexibility, spend more time with our kids basically as well. So what seemed like a good idea after a bit of wine then turned into reality. We did an RHS evening class for a year before we set up the business, just to make sure we've cemented in and got something to prove that what we've learned ourselves in our own gardens over the years is actually the right thing, and a bit of science and behind it.
Yeah, and we did some practical experience for friends, so we would go along and help them out in their gardens or help with design projects and things like that, and just make sure that we, what we were giving up was going to end up being, we were moving forwards into something that we really wanted to do, turning a hobby and a passion into our business. And we haven't looked back.
How long has Ladies That Mulch existed?
About 15 months.
Okay.
But it's been brilliant, and it's been a very strange 15 months with lockdowns and everything else, but just being in charge of our own destiny, being able to work around all that with the family life as well, has been fantastic. And all the amazing customers and projects that we've worked since then. It's great.
So what type of work do you mainly do?
We started off just mainly doing maintenance, but we like to have a balance between maintenance and the design work. So most of our clients that we do maintenance for, we've done some form of design or redesign of borders, or creating new borders or areas of interest as well. And the design stuff is great, because again, you've got the flexibility of doing that, as and when you can, and work around the children and things like that. So that it's also, when you've been digging for 5 hours during the day, it's nice to sometimes have a few hours sat in front of a computer again, just or a piece of paper working out.
And interesting, it's the interesting piece and the creative piece coming into play as well. So, like Vicky was saying, either working on existing gardens and enhancing them, or starting from scratch. Some of the design projects we've worked on have been complete blank canvases, just grass. And it's been very exciting working through all that.
So which area do you cover? Do you have an area that you cover from where you both live?
Yeah, we work sort of between West Ratting and sort of a 10-mile radius of West Ratting, and then a 10-mile radius of Steeple Bumpstead is our usual area. We have sort of branched out to just outside Stansted for a design job, and Hertfordshire, and so sort of Cambridgeshire, Essex, Suffolk, Hertfordshire, but
mainly we want to be local, because that was the point, was to be closer to home and not commuting into London anymore, and being close to home for the kids. So, yes.
So what's a typical day for you both?
So we try and be able to drop our children at school, so which is one of the things we wanted to do. So we'll tend to work, if we're working at a client's house, we'll tend to work 5 hours between school drop off and pick up for being on site, and then we can sort of mix and match admin and other bits and pieces around that.
Design work around that. So generally come home sort of late afternoon is spent with the kids and all that kind of piece, and then we get back to it later in the evening. But it's the name of the game is to be able to tailor things around what we want to do, really, and it's worked really well so far. So yeah.
So how do you go about designing a garden?
Oh, it really depends. It depends on the brief. It's really understanding the customer, understanding how they want to use their space, either if it's a distinct area of their garden or the whole garden itself. Really getting to know them, understanding their likes, and very importantly their dislikes as well. Some people are quite happy to give you full rein and come up with ideas, and other people have got quite. We designed a white border, didn't we? It was quite a large border area for a customer, and so it's really understanding what the customer wants, and then huge amounts of research and ideas, and going from these many ideas and then bringing it down to something that's going to work together.
And understanding the space as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sort of, a lot of clients want certain things, but then sort of when you explain to them, well, you know, that you could put that in, or you could spend a fortune on that plant or tree, but actually it's not the right spot for it because of it's too damp or too shady, and just trying to educate the client as well, that and give them alternatives to what they've sort of maybe set their heart on, and going, oh, I want that there, and you're like, oh, you know, and just talking them through the Oxford really at the end of the day is to come up with those ideas and those suggestions.
Yeah.
So what do you enjoy about your work?
Oh, being outdoors is amazing. Maybe not on the snowy and rainy days quite so much, but just generally after having been at a desk for 20 years and working very long hours, being able to work outdoors with really interesting people. And it's generally a happy thing. You know, people like you being in their gardens and creating nice spaces for them to enjoy, and it's great because you actually see the fruits of your labour quite quickly. So it's really satisfying.
Yeah, that's the big difference from staring at a spreadsheet and you can't really see the end result, and then you're out here and you sort of you dig over a border or you mulch border or you put some new plants in, and you're just like, well, that's what I've done today. You feel like you've achieved something. So.
Yeah, that's great.
So if a customer wanted to use your services, how would they get in contact with you?
We've got a website, we're on Facebook and Instagram, there's contact forms through the website, and all our phone numbers and emails are on there and things like that. So yeah, do get in touch if you'd like to have us come round and see your garden.